Right now, American fighter pilots, allied fighter pilots are using $100 million jets, multi-million dollar drones, and $1 million or $100,000 missiles to hunt and swat drones out of the sky. Drones that cost less than a used Honda Civic. Just recently, an F-35 took down an Iranian Shahed drone that was operating near the USS Abraham Lincoln, almost certainly with a missile that cost $500,000. I would suspect it's probably an AIM-9. Again, this was probably done, and I would fully expect just tactically perfectly, flawlessly. However, when we look at the financial piece as well as the scalability piece of this, it's absolutely brutal and not sustainable. Every time we knock one of these cheap drones out of the sky, we're spending 10 to 50 times or more to knock this out of the sky. So by the end of this video, I'm going to show you how the Pentagon is launching a program called Drone Dominance, which is designed to flip the math, flip the script on the enemy, and create our own problem sets for our enemies. But first, we need to look how we got here and actually how we're surviving this new problem set as the battlefield has completely evolved over the last few years. And that story starts with a 70mm rocket called the APKWS, or Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, or AGR-20. This is an upgrade that's turned F-16s and F-15E Strike Eagles into drone-killing shotguns. Now, using AMRAAMs, AIM-120s, the Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missile, which is a radar-guided missile, the backbone of modern fighters for Western fighters, that is, as well as the AIM-9X, an infrared-guided missile. These are exquisite missiles. They do great work, but we don't have an endless supply of them. So when we look at this problem set, we have to look at the uncomfortable truth that a Shahed style one-way attack kamikaze drone can cost somewhere between $20,000 to $50,000. When we talk war, that's a drop in the bucket. And the missiles we often have been shooting at these one-way attack drones cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Do that enough times, it definitely breaks the budget. It definitely breaks your war reserve and your capability for addressing high-end fights. So when I think of fighters v fighters, and you burn all your AMRAAMs, and there's already suggestions out there that in a big shooting war with a near-peer adversary, the United States quickly runs out of missiles in a matter of days, not weeks, not months, days. Now when you're burning your AIM-120s and your AIM-9s on one-way attack drones that can be printed in your mom's basement, this becomes a whole new problem set. So when we first saw the Ukrainian war kick off, when we saw Israel enter in a full-scale engagement, we now have seen a loop develop that while it is evolving and it's evolving relatively fast, we've seen high-end jets using high-end missiles playing a very expensive game of whack-a-mole against these low-cost drones. So how do we break this loop? Enter the APKWS, Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, at AGR-20. This is basically a new guidance system that just gets bolted on, screwed on to the middle of a standard 70mm Hydra rocket. So you take a dumb rocket, relatively cheap, that the United States has stockpiled hundreds of thousands of, and you add a laser seeker to this, and suddenly it becomes a precision weapon that can hit a pickup truck, a window, or a small drone in this case. This rocket started its life cycle as an air-to-ground munition. The Navy and the Marine Corps fielded these from helicopters like the AH-1 or the UH-1, and it later went on to fixed-wing aircraft like the Harrier and the A-10. And now we're seeing it on the F-16. The selling point here is really simple. It's much cheaper, much lighter than a Hellfire, which again costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, or a big smart bomb, which when we're talking about these drones, not very helpful coming to take those out. Maybe the launching pad, but not the drone itself. And it's accurate enough to put pounds of high explosives right on the laser spot. And then someone asked the obvious question in this new battle space. If this laser guided rocket can hit a truck, could it hit a small drone? Enter the test on the F-16s, which, I gotta say, it's really cool when you hear your buddies doing awesome work. This is just a couple majors sitting around one day and they have a good idea. They make the pitch, they get the funding, they build the test, and they go out there and do that. That's what is pretty awesome about all this. So they start testing on the F-16, and that's where the story really begins to start. Now, the Strike Eagle definitely has it, and we'll talk about that some, but I want to talk about the F-16 specifically, near and dear to my heart. High-end operations like Operation Midnight Hammer. The F-16s that were part of that were doing the SEAD mission, Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses. They were in there escorting, sniffing out enemy surface-air missile radar sites, harassing, degrading, and disrupting those with high-speed anti-radiation missiles, the AGM-88. But before those F-16s got mixed up in Operation Midnight Hammers, those very same crews, those very same jets, were doing something that we haven't heard a whole bunch about. Probably have heard of Yemen. You've probably heard of the Houthis that are harassing boats in the Red Sea. Well, F-16s showed up with AGR-20s, that advanced precision kill weapon system, alongside their seed complement doing multi-role, bread and butter of the F-16. Each of them carried laser-guided rocket pods, and they went out there multiple times, multiple sorties, multiple days, taking out these one-way attack drones that Houthis were launching against boats and other targets in the region. We have a whole podcast series coming out talking to these very F-16 pilots. Some of them on their very first combat sortie are having these drones launched in their vicinity, and they're taking them out with this AGR-20. So now instead of launching a $400,000 air-to-air missile at a $30,000 drone, an F-16 pilot, a Strike Eagle pilot, can utilize their high volume, high magazine AGR-20 rocket pod at a fraction of the cost. And it still has the seeker and the fragmentation warhead tuned in to take out these small targets. Not only are you saving money and, again, saving your arsenal with high-end missiles, but you're matching these cheap drones with the appropriate weapon and the appropriate size weapon for this problem set. And the Strike Eagle community, I think, has pushed this even further. Strike Eagles have a lot of gas and, a lot of bombs. And now what comes with it, they can carry a lot of AGR-20s and rocket pods. There are some cool pictures of F-16s loaded out wall to wall. And I think at their air show this upcoming March, we're going to see one of those out there on the ramp, configured with these AGR-20 rocket pods. But the Strike Eagle does have a lot of hard points. It can carry a lot of munitions, and they've done that. We did a whole breakdown video on their largest aerial engagement since World War II, taking out ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones that were fired at Israel. Now, I don't know how many AGR-20s were utilized. I know they were shooting a lot of AMRAAMs and AIM-9s in this, which again, not ideal, and thus big push to get this AGR-20 into the arsenal and onto the frontline fighters that are out there facing this day in and day out on all these recent deployments. The typical MO has been staring down dozens, if not hundreds, of incoming one-way attack drones. When we're looking at this, we don't need a sniper rifle precision of an AMRAAM or an AIM-9. You need the shotgun, and you need to be able to carry a lot of bullets with you. And that, again, is where the AGR-20 comes into this, being able to handle that volume, but have the appropriate guidance and the precision to take out these flying kamikaze drones. And this is continuing to evolve. There's now a dual mode proximity fuse AGR-20 that's being developed specifically to kill drones, where near miss can be just as lethal. If this drone gets through, it obviously can lead to civilian deaths, damage to buildings, damage to structures, so you got to be able to take them out. So instead of needing a quadcopter dead center, the fuse can detonate much like our air-to-air missiles do and throw fragmentation in order to ensure a higher probability of taking these drones out. And if it's not obvious already, the fact that fighters can now carry dozens of these rockets, it gives them much more depth versus an F-16, which might have only had 6 air-to-air missiles. Now you potentially are tripling, if not quadrupling, that capability, which is huge when it comes out to these massive drone swarms we've seen. But how are we flipping the script, and how are we taking this as a military, utilize what the adversary has been doing and now implement it into our doctrine and our tactics, thus enter drone dominance, making that problem our adversary's problem, where they have learned that mass, cheap, expendable drones printed in your mom's basement or wherever it is can be brutal and can be very effective when it comes to the fight. For years, we've been reacting to this threat, utilizing fighters, utilizing our inventory and expensive missiles to handle and swat these drones out of the sky. So now the Pentagon is finally saying, hey, look, we're done playing goalie. If mass cheap drones work for them, we can learn and we can utilize that for our own fight as well. At the end of 2025, the Department of Defense or Department of War rolled out drone dominance. And this is roughly a $1 billion sprint to buy more than 300,000 small one-way attack drones by early 2028. It's a relatively simple idea. Field US-made Shahed style or Lancet style systems at scale, utilizing American industry, and give our own forces their ability and a library of disposable strike drones instead of relying on just one large, exquisite platform or waiting for close air support to show up or whatever it might be. Again, giving the warfighter an edge in this new modern battle space. Now, drone dominance is running in 4 phases, each built around a gauntlet-style competitions where vendors bring prototypes to Fort Benning and other ranges where military operators can fly them on realistic missions and gauge which design is best. Right now, there are 25 vendors that are competing in phase 1 that has this early kickoff at Fort Benning, Georgia here shortly. There are 2 main core missions that these drones have to be able to perform in. One is a 10-kilometer strike across open terrain and roughly a 1-kilometer precision strike in an urban style environment. All this while carrying a 2-kilogram payload. So think high explosives eventually. Cost Ease of use and the production speed definitely count when it comes to overall performance and what they're being evaluated in. Up to about half of these 25 competitors could expect to walk away through phase 1 with production contracts and minimum orders of about 1,000 drones each. Again, that'll allow them to move through the process and be evaluated further. The ultimate goal, again, hundreds of thousands of Kamikaze drones from whoever is selected. Maybe it's one vendor, maybe it's multiples, by 2028. The Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, our answer to this Kamikaze drone. Drone dominance now, our look and our take of how do we utilize one-way attack drones for our warfighters to be able to go out there and enhance their capabilities on the battlefield. The battle space is evolving. And as we see these low-cost drones being produced in the thousands and soon to be hundreds of thousands, starts looking at what is air superiority. How does that look and how is that evolving? It used to be the side with the best jets. Now it might be the side with the best drones or counter drone capability. Is it mass? Is it scale? So again, we're going to keep digging into this. If you like this type of content, leave a comment down below. That helps us get shown to more people. And let me know what you'd like to hear next. And I'll see you next time.